And TGIF, everyone. Welcome into the First Call podcast, presented by First Bet and Express Bet. We're here each and every Friday. He is Scott Shapiro. I'm Jeremy Plonk. We're going to handicap 8 stakes races from around the country as the road to the Santa Anita Derby gets underway this weekend at the Great Race Place. They'll start out at 7/8 of a mile in the San Vicente. We'll see who might get to the mile and 8 Santa Anita Derby at meets end there in Southern California. Scott, not a lot on the Derby trail this weekend. We're actually down a man. The Pasco Stakes didn't fill at Tampa Bay Downs. That would be the start to the Tampa Bay Derby series. So we're not talking a lot of 3-year-olds this week, which is rare as we get early season.
Yeah, that's what we love to do most, but we'll chomp at the bit for 7 more days. We'll get the LeCompte, which kind of feels like another tier as we move forward on the road. I know the Risen Star kind of starts the bigger points races, but the LeCompte, you'll see runners that can get into the Derby, maybe make an impact in there often, not always, but looking forward to that. And then, of course, in a couple of weeks, we got the big one, the Pegasus World Cup and the card that goes along with that, and then the Holy Bull. So it's a good time, a little light on the road to the Derby this week.
Yeah, Pegasus World Cup card coming up the 24th of January at Gulfstream Park. We'll have a wager guide for you, a first wager guide for the big Pegasus World Cup card. We'll have that out for you on Monday the 19th. They're going to draw on Sunday the 18th for that Pegasus card. So those fields are taking shape as we speak. As for the podcast, we have taken shape this week. We've got 8 stakes races for you, as I said earlier. For those of you watching on video channels, on X, on YouTube, be sure to like, share this out. Tell us who you like in the comments section. Help us grow the audience for the podcast. And for those of you on our longtime traditional audio channels, here are the 8 races Scott and I are going to tee up over the next half hour. We'll start at Gulfstream Park, where we're walking on sunshine, Scott. Sunshine Classic and the Filly and Mare Turf, the 2 stakes races there from South Florida. To Santa Anita we go, the 3-year-old fillies in the Santa Ynez, the 3-year-old colts in the San Vicente. Road to the Oaks and Derby, Santa Anita style, getting underway there. At Tampa Bay Downs, the Gasparilla Stakes will be the stakes we handicap. There are 2 stakes on that particular card. Gasparilla will be race number 6. That'll be our feature event from the Gulf Coast. To Turfway Park we go under the lights for the Likely Exchange Stakes on Saturday night, and then we'll wrap things up for the Saturday handicapping at Fairgrounds with the Palmisano Memorial Stakes, sprinters going in that one. To Sunday, we've got a rare Sunday edition for you, our 8th and final stakes for the podcast, the Las Ciénegas Stakes, Turf Sprint Mares in that one at Santa Anita on Sunday. A couple promos we want to tell you about, and we mentioned the Pegasus World Cup already on the podcast. We're in the midst of the Pegasus World Cup bankroll builder with Express Bet and First Bet. This is a really easy promo, and it's a damn good one, I gotta admit. I mean, sometimes I'm plugging stuff because I'm supposed to plug stuff, but this is actually a really, really good promo. Each day at Gulfstream between now and the 23rd, the day before the Pegasus, bet $25 in any kind of wagers on the intra-race wagers on the card at Gulfstream Park and get $5 back. So you can do that up to 10 times and get $50 back in your bankroll to play on Pegasus World Cup Day. All that money that you build up, all those bonuses will be put into your account right before the Pegasus World Cup card, and then you'll have 50 extra bucks, potentially up to $50 to play on that Pegasus card. $25, really no restrictions to it. Bet 25, get 5. You can do that today on Friday at Gulfstream Park. You can do it on Saturday, Sunday this weekend, and of course over the next couple of weeks as well. Plenty of chances to get in on that bankroll builder. And the other one, we've got a hit and split for Tampa Bay Downs late pick 4 on Saturday. That's a 1 million point hit and split. So your first rewards points can be cashed in for wagering credits, for swag, for handicapping products. A lot of good ways to use those. I've got a blog up for that Tampa late pick 4 that you can take a look at. All right, Scott, let's get handicapping Gulfstream Park. We've got 2 stakes races on Saturday. Races 10 and 11, we're going to handicap the Sunshine Classic, the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf. Both of those races are part of the final series of races that are part of the Sunset Pick 6, final 3 races at Gulfstream, final 3 races at Santa Anita. That's each and every race day that both tracks are running. So a couple stakes races in that Sunset 6 on Saturday. And also these 2 stakes races we're about to talk about are part of Beat the Host, our weekly handicapping contest. Pete Aiello got off to a decent start last week. I think he knocked out a fair number of players in last week's performance. So good job by Pete.
Tough sledding, it seemed like.
Yeah. And Millie Ball had a good day last year in knocking out a bunch of players and Beat the Host. She's the host this weekend. Final 5 at Gulfstream, final 5 at Santa Anita. will be the Beat the Host races each and every week. So be sure to check that out. And these stakes races we're about to handicap can get you 2/5 of the way home on the Gulfstream side on that Beat the Host. So let's go. Let's talk about the Sunshine Classic. Mile and a 16th in this one, a field of 6, and some names that players know from Gulfstream. Hades, I believe, won as a 3-year-old back in the day. I think he was a Holy Bull winner over this track back in his 3-year-old season. We certainly know about him. Neil Equus is a horse who was 3rd in the Florida Derby, 3rd in the Fountain of Youth, a horse who's got a good run at Gulfstream over the years. This is a pretty good race for a 75 grander for the Florida breds.
Not too bad. And then you have the 8-5 favorite, Laura Min, who's 11 for 56, 7 for 20 on the track, 9-year-old gelding, who is the favorite and the one to beat in here, perhaps. I thought it was a 2-horse race of sorts between Lure Him In and your aforementioned Neo Equos, who many may remember from the Derby. He was one of the ones that broke from the inside, and he had to break from the inside a lot. I remember them talking a lot about how they thought this horse was a horse that could go, 7 furlongs, 6 furlongs, or longer and could settle, but he kept drawing along the inside, and that kind of forced their hands. Then he drew to the far outside last time, which also kind of forces your hand in that race at Parks, but he's fresh. I think they have high hopes for this horse. It's a great spot to come bring him back in. He's a Florida bred. He'd been taking on open company throughout, so he's been firing off now solid works. And Savvy Joseph Jr., we'll talk about another horse that he's got in the Gasparilla filly. He is just very good at spotting his horses, one of the best. We talked about it with Skippy Longstocking a lot. I think Neo Equos is ready for a big year. And if he's going to have one, he's going to have to run well in this spot to start it off.
Neo Equus is coming off a September layoff since that Gallant Bob, but last summer he was in good form, winning at Monmouth Park in a race called the Jersey Shore easily on the front end.
Coming to the top of the stretch, Neo Equos has command of the race now. Donut God, the only one with a chance to beat him. Fire Pit behind in 3rd. Off the turn, Neo Equos has a challenge. Here's Donut God on the outside trying to catch him. Neo Equos, furlong to go, finding more on the lead. Donut God trying hard, but he's behind in 2nd as Neo Equos opens up the lead again. And it's Neo Equos and Samuel Marin to win the Jersey Shore by 2.5 lengths.
We'll see if he's back on his best form in the Sunshine Classic. Neo Equus, top pick in there for Scott in race number 10. Look, field the 6 in there. Maybe you don't get too involved in the exotics with the shorter field and some lower prices. So daily doubles really a good look at here from race 10 to race 11, because the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf next up has a field of 11. Let the math work for you when it comes to the exotics. When you play an exacta in a 6-horse field, really, you've got a horse on top. There's only 5 combinations underneath it. When you got 11 that you can look at when extending to the daily double, you have the potential of turning that horse you like into a bigger return, and that's what it's all about in this game. So I'd look to the daily doubles from races 10 to 11 if you like Neo Equus or anyone else in that race. If you get good money on the win end, dive in. But daily double plays to the 11th, and the Sunshine Filly Mare Turf might be a good way to go. This is a race that was our express bet race of the week, and I put my analysis on the website a little bit earlier in the week. You can get that through emails with express bet and first bet as well with the newsletter each and every week. Scott and I landed on the same horse in here, so I'll let you talk about Spirited Boss.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more wager. This race is included in. It's the Coast to Coast pick 5. So
yeah.
That's the 8th and the 11th at Gulfstream, and I believe 6, 8, and 10, or 4, 6. It's the 3 even races at Santa Anita. I have it written right here. Let's not get bad. 4, 6, and 8. So it's 8 and 11 at Gulfstream, 4, 6, and 8.
Good.
At Santa Anita. And I don't know if we came up with this horse for the same reason, but I think she's going to get a really good trip under perhaps the best turf rider around. You've got a lot of speed to her inside. I think we're going to have an honest pace in here. And I think Spirited Boss, it's not like she's going to be way out of it or anything. She's definitely got tactical speed. But Irad will know where to put her. It's first time he's been aboard in a while, but he was aboard her early on in her career when she was taking on Florida breds as well. I think this is a filly that I don't know if we're going to get 6-1. We both landed on her. We have Irad. She's got affinity for the course, but she's taken a lot of money throughout her career. But I think she looks like a real player in here.
She's second off the layoff. The one concern is she's never taken on elder stakes fillies, right? I mean, her stakes performances in the past, in the Santa Beau Island, in the Soaring Softly, in the Honey Rider, were all against 3-year-old fillies in restricted company last year. She's now 4. She's taken on the open company, and that is a big step up in class, but she's second off the layoff. The form cycle is really good for her, and she looked sharp at Tampa last time out.
They wind around to the top of the stretch. Tour Queen is still there. It's Tour Queen a length and a half in front of Any Port in the second spot. Spirited Boss going to look toward the inside. Flowers for Me at Midnight continues to roll right down the crown of the track. Tour Queen, Spirited Boss looking for a seam, going to swing out to the 2-path. Here comes Spirited Boss after Tour Queen. Any Port is right there, and Flowers for Me. Spirited Boss trying to catch Tour Queen. Spirited Boss got through and got the win.
Same kind of trip we're expecting. That's stalk and pound, Scott. You talked about some speed to the inside. The outside of the gate's got plenty of gas, too, with Rugalock, Super Zonda, and Great Venezuela. Really a turf sprinter who almost wired this race last year, was battling on the front end the whole way. You got to love the form for Great Venezuela. 9 wins, 4 seconds from 16 career starts, but almost all as a turf sprinter. And as they get to a mile here and with the outside draw, I'm going to try to beat Great Venezuela in here. Of course, last year's winner in this race, Ashima's in here. She went wire to wire. They led all the way around the track in this race last year, but you add more speed to the mix, and I think it sets up for somebody sitting kind of fourth would be a good spot to be going into the far turn.
Yeah, and as importantly, you're right. I looked at it a little wrong just looking back at my PPs. A lot of the speed is to the outside. You do not want to be on the outside of this course at 1 mile. I mean, generally speaking, that's a good rule. You don't want to be wide on a turf course going 2 turns. But Gulfstream, it's really accentuated in this kind of race. And, these 3 outside horses are going to have their work cut out for them. Either they're not going to run their race, they're going to be caught wide, or they're going to have to be ridden very aggressively to outspeed the others and avoid a real wide voyage.
Ashima, 10 for 20 lifetime. Great Venezuela, 9 for 16 lifetime. Spirited Boss, 4 for 7. So we've got horses who are all 50% or above in major player roles here in this race. The Sunshine, Filly and Mare Turf, for a 75 grander. This is a really good race for the Florida breds here. Race number 11, Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Again, races 10 and 11 that we just handicapped. Maybe you look at a potential daily double. Certainly want to lock in on those races if you're playing the pick 6 at the end of the card, the sunset pick 6 between Santa Anita and Gulfstream. And of course, in the Express Bet Beat the Host handicapping contest against Millie Ball. Try to line up your picks now for the Sunshine Classic and the Filly and Mare Turf. Speaking of Santa Anita and the Beat the Host and all the big stakes races throughout the course of the weekend, we've got a couple stakes races for you early in the program. So in the Express Bet Beat the Host, which is the last 5 at Gulfstream and the first 5 at Santa Anita, lo and behold, we get both stakes races. Race 3, the Santa Ynez, and race 5, the San Vicente, will both be part of that handicapping contest, part of the low takeout early pick 5 too. That low takeout early pick 5 at Santa Anita, an underrated wager. I know the late pick 5 generally takes more action because just the time on the card and the bettors get settled in, but the early pick 5 is where the value is in terms of the takeout and where you kind of get a better bang for your buck. A couple stakes races with some short fields in there and races 3 and 5. Early pick 5 might be a very good attack on Saturday at Santa Anita in trying to build out some value. If you got some shorter prices in the 3rd and the 5th with the smaller fields, maybe you can expand in some other spots and pick off some good prices in there and turn some of these shorter type prices into a nice payday. So take a look at that early pick 5 if you're gambling on Saturday. Scott's going to help you out in the Santa Ynez.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think field sizes is what usually leads people to why they like playing the later as much as anything. You get those bigger turf fields likely in the back there. But to your point, great takeout. It's always been one of the best wagers in the game, that early pick 5 out at Santa Anita Park. And, you get a couple of stakes races. The key to me would be trying to at least find a way to beat one of the favorites in these races, if not both. If you can do that, it's going to be a very lucrative opportunity for you. And I'm going to do just that. I think we talked about this race on the program a week or so, maybe last week, or maybe I planned to if we didn't, but I think Explorer is vulnerable in here. I don't even really love the way she's been training, watching her for a back foot. And the fact that I don't love that, combined with she's run very well in her races, obviously, but this is a weird spot on the cutback. She was going towards the inside last out. The outside post, I think, is beneficial to her. But I think Rivera's a good filly. I'm going to take on Team Baffert. I've been doing that a lot. I've been singling Baffert and then taking on a group of them. It's been very interesting. But I'm not in love with Hamika or Battle of Rouge. I think Rivera's legitimate. I mean, she lost to Explorer, but that was 5.5 on debut. And I mean, I think I could speak for everyone when I say Baffert generally has his horse more cranked at first asking than John Sadler. So, you know, I'm not going to really say that that's telltale of what's going to happen when these two face off today. And since then, she's run real bang-up races. In fact, turning the tables on Hamika last out. Maybe she's a Del Mar horse. That could be a negative. But I think she's going to offer pretty good value in a compact field.
You're not losing your mind. You're not moving in and out of other dimensions. We did talk about this race prior to a cancellation a week or so ago. It was Rivera then. It's Rivera now. And the Desi Arnaz, she was the one. Let's go back to that one.
Around the far turn, Bourbon and Ginger, Hamika and Rivera. They're across the track after a 45.94 half mile, and they're into the stretch in the Desi Arnaz. And it's Rivera to the outside and Hamika. They're right together, nose to nose, coming to the final furlong. Rivera outside, Hamika down toward the inside. The two of them battle head and head. Rivera and Hamika. Rivera's got a neck in front. Hamika on the inside, trying to stick with her all the way to the wire, but Rivera wins, takes the Desi Arnaz over Hamika, then
big favorite Hamika in there. You got 9-2 on Rivera that day, and I'm not so sure the price isn't going to be much different in here. I don't think Rivera's going to get bet hard, and with Explorer in this race coming off the second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly, she's going to get bet. They're not going to just dismiss Hamika after being 1-5. She's not going to get let go at any kind of great price for sure. Bottle of Rouge in here, winner of the Del Mar Debutante, adds to the field, so you can get every bit of that 4.5 to 1 back on Sadler and Berrios here.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one other thing. I could be losing my mind. That was just one exhibit. So that, you know. Well, I'm not a small sample guy. I like large sample sizes when I'm using stats. So I think we need a little bit more.
Yeah, funny, like sometimes we do talk about races in various forums, or we're talking about them during the week, or we write about them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember. Wait a minute. I've already done that. And then you kind of come back to later in the week. And this happens a lot around Breeders' Cup time or Derby time. Like, you almost lose track of everything you've talked about leading up to some of those big races and what formats they were in. But I know for a fact that race was rescheduled, and the Santa Anita is back on the schedule. One race that's going for the first time is the San Vicente, 7/8 of a mile. It'll be race number 5 on Saturday at the Great Race Place. Kickoff to the Santa Anita Derby Series. No Kentucky Derby points are on the line in this race because it's a sprint at 7/8 of a mile. So we can see a horse come out of this race, though, and do some damage in the Kentucky Derby. You go way back to Silver Charm, but you go back to that 2016 group with Nyquist and Exaggerator. They ran a cracker 1-2 in this race coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and they go all the way to the Kentucky Derby and do it again, running 1-2. And, of course, Exaggerator got the revenge in the Preakness Stakes and got his classic victory. The San Vicente can produce a winner for sure on the Triple Crown Series. It's been a little while, though, but it hasn't been for Bob Baffert, 14-time winner of this race, and he's got another loaded hand here to play in the San Vicente. He's got Greenwich Village, the 1. He's got Butane, the 3, and he's also got he's got 2 of them in here in a field of 5. So it's not as dominant Baffert with 3 out of 5 in the Santa Anita, but he's got 2 pretty strong hands to play.
Man, Exaggerator. I'll never forget his second start. He was coming off an kind of a troubled trip debut and he came back at Del Mar and he was 4-1, and everybody in that robe, that cool press box they have there where you get to go out on them. Everybody had him, and he just got up, and then he goes on to he was a cool horse. I liked him, but yeah. Well, I've been creative. I've taken on Bob's in the past. I think Butane is a standout in here. This looks like his race. Maybe Greenwich Village or one of those, maybe can step it up. I didn't love the race that he ran. I didn't love the fact that he was taken off the rail when he could by Juan Hernandez, and now he's down towards the inside again. And albeit low sal, you really do want to try to get off the rail there. And he didn't really put away the runner-up there all that well. But I think Butane is pretty serious. Debuted, was 1-5, like a good Baffert should. He rolls. And then he goes out and goes out for the hopeful. I mean, that shows you what Baffert thought of him. And he runs into Ted Nafi. What I'm going to go on record saying it will be his career best race. He was awesome that day in the hopeful, but he was favored at 6-5. So, and caught wide. So I think this horse is the one that one of the ones maybe Bob's been waiting, kind of freshening up to get started for the big 3-year-old campaign. He's been training well. I think Butane at the $1.15 million Son of Tiz the Law is probably a pretty big standout in this field.
The last time we saw him in Southern California, it was the Del Mar debut. Let's go back to that one with Larry Comas.
Butane turns up the heat on the outside. Now the two of them are nose to nose on the lead. They've got 2 on Falcon Jet. It's another 3 lengths back to the others. Stark Contrast is 4th as Butane takes the lead coming to the top of the stretch. Cactus Charlie on the inside is next. Then comes Falcon Jet in 3rd by the 8th pole. Butane by 2. Falcon Jet, the stablemate, chasing him home in 2nd. Cactus Charlie is 3rd, but it's going to be Butane. He's going to win from here to Fenway Park. Won it by 4 in the end over Falcon Jet. And then it was Charlie.
Named for Walker Bueller, the baseball player. So that's the Fenway Park reference in there from Larry Comas. Butane, the horse to beat here in the San Vicente Stakes. How far will he go? He's by Tiz the Law, of course. We remember he won the Belmont at 1 1/8 around 1 turn back in that COVID year, but certainly a horse who could probably get a little bit of distance. The forestry on the dam side of the mare, a little bit concerning whether or not this will be a classic distance horse. But if there's a trainer over the years who gets horses who look like milers to go the classic trips, it's Bob Baffert. So Butane, the horse to beat in here. What about Acknowledge Me, Please? Let's talk about him for just a second in here. This is 1 of 2 for Doug O'Neill. O'Neill also has the Calbred Thirsty Rebel in this spot. Acknowledge Me, Please won a Santa Anita maiden special back in October in the 2nd start. Last time out was a no-threat 4th, pressed the pace and faded in the Los Al Futurity. I think it's an interesting weekend for that race because the winner litmus test, he's going to see his stablemate for Baffert Blacksmith come back in a maiden race this weekend. You would expect that horse coming off a 2nd in the Los Al Futurity to punch through the graduation ranks. And you would expect Acknowledge Me, Please to run decently in this race if you want to get behind litmus test. He's a horse that I'm a little wishy-washy on litmus test as is he really one of the ones for Baffert going into this 3-year-old campaign, or is he kind of a second-tier type? We've seen horses out of the Los Al Futurity go both directions. Some years they're very good, and some years they become kind of second-tier type 3-year-olds. What do you think of litmus test, and also Acknowledge Me, Please, in this particular spot?
I haven't gotten the fuzzies yet from litmus test. I think he's kind of the second tier thus far. That doesn't mean that'll stick around as we progress here. And, you know, the part that concerns me a little, why is this horse, Doug O'Neill's not one to give horse breaks after good races, you know? Not a knock. I actually love the fact that Doug will run his horses. But the fact that this one needed a break after Santa Anita, didn't appear at Del Mar. He took him there, didn't appear though. And then he needed time again, and then he doesn't run well, albeit, you know, an inside trip at Los Al going long, maybe not the deal breaker. Adding the blinkers, I just feel like he's still searching for this horse, and he's another one that has very questionable pedigree if we're talking about going longer. But it would be price dependent whether I would give him a shot in this spot. But I also don't love the fact that he, you know, well, the last race is really what you have to. If you're willing to toss the last race, he fits just fine.
This could be Derby day for a horse like Acknowledge Me, Please, because like you said, he's not bred to run long. He's by turf sprinter Buchero out of a Yes It's True mare. I mean, it's speed on speed. 7/8 of a mile in a graded stakes. You don't get many graded stakes for 3-year-old sprinters in Southern California. And when you get to, by the time you get to Del Mar in the summer, you're running against older horses as 3-year-old sprinters. So this is kind of the 3-year-old sprint for Southern Californians to run in grade 2 company here for $200,000. So Acknowledge Me, Please. I think that experiment going long at Los Al kind of blew up on him. Now they come back to a sprint. He's got speed and they add blinkers on top of it. I mean, horses like this sometimes run off early on. So let's see what happens with Acknowledge Me, Please, and how he handles it. One other horse to mention in the San Vicente, So Happy, coming off a debut win in a solid 116 flat for Mark Glatt. This is another one by Run Happy. You expect sprint, but he's got some blame on the dam side there. So maybe this one out of So Cunning could go a little bit longer. So Happy was a $150,000 2-year-old buy. They were expected to get quick returns on him, and he didn't make it to the races until November. So we'll see. We're So Happy. He's a horse making his second career start, stepping up in class. But it should run through Butane, I believe, in the San Vicente, just like Scott does. Let's go now from Santa Anita on Saturday. We'll get back to the Great Race Place a little later in the podcast for a Sunday Stakes. But next up, we go to Tampa Bay Downs for the Gasparillo Stakes. Next up on the program, the Gasparillo Stakes. Scott, I'm going to throw a little trivia for you here. What's it named for?
Oh, man. Is there a Gasparilla Bowl? Was there a Gasparilla Bowl at one point?
Well, there is.
So, okay. So,
But Gasparilla is a famous pirate festival.
it was right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. So this one's like,
Never been.
kind of put on an eye patch, say R in between picks, and come up with something for us in the Gasparilla here. This is really a filly race, 3-year-old filly race that gets us set towards that Florida Oaks race that we'll have on Tampa Bay Derby Day here at Tampa. So the Gasparilla Stakes, cover an eye. Who do you like?
Well, I think anybody that picks up the form is going to like who I have. So one eye would probably have worked just fine. Maybe people will flock to, the other Safi, maybe Lightscape, who won on debut and took a lot of money. But I think this is a very well-spotted spot for number 3, Tessellate. Speaking of the Safi Joseph factor, and his horses have been running well when he's brought him to Tampa thus far. She's done very little wrong thus far. She won impressively on debut. She finished 2nd and 3rd in 2 stakes races at Gulfstream. She looks like she towers over this field to me, assuming she breaks well. But, these fillies do grow up. I'm not rushing to the window to bet her at a short price.
Right.
Fillies can come and go a little bit quickly as they're maturing or lack thereof. But on paper and in my mind, it's Tessellate's race to lose.
Starts the late pick 5, maybe with the single here that a lot of people are going to be locking in on. Tessellate, let's watch her last time out dominating at Gulfstream Park. Backup announcer Liam Molinaro on the mic when she ran off in the juvenile filly sprint.
Has taken charge. Tessellate takes him to the top of the stretch with the lead. Epigram is second. Not today for La Dolce Vita. Tessellate off the turn with a 5-length advantage. Epigram's calling it an afternoon. It's a 1-horse affair into the final furlong. Tessellate and Edgard Zayas are dominating the juvenile fillies sprint. Tessellate streaking through the stretch is going to win it by however much she wants. Tessellate crushed.
Tessellate going to be a short price to start the late pick 5 there at Tampa in the Gasparilla Stakes. Another stakes on the card in race number 7 is going to kick off the late pick 4, and that late pick 4 is where our 1 million point hit and split will be Saturday when you bet with Express Bet and First Bet. So be sure when you play Tampa, opt in the promo, play that late pick 4 for 1 million points, first rewards points up for grabs. You get your pari-mutuel winnings, plus you'll share 1 million first rewards points with just other players on these platforms, First Bet and Express Bet, that also hit the late pick 4. And then, of course, you could redeem those first rewards points for wagering credits, swag, handicapping products, all kinds of good stuff there. Race number 6, the Gasparilla, starts the late pick 5, but again, that hit and split pick 4 will start in race number 7 at Tampa on Saturday. Let's go to Turfway Park under the lights on Saturday night for the Likely Exchange Stakes. This will be race number 8, post time about 9:25 Eastern, and we've got a field of 8 in the Likely Exchange going a mile. Scott, back to one of your old homes in Kentucky, Turfway Park. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, the old stomping grounds. I think Velvet Devil will be on the lead from the inside. She has no form over the course, and I think she'll create an honest pace. And there's a filly or a mare now that was there when I was there. It wasn't all that long ago, so she's not 9 years old. Don't get excited, but I think she's kind of rounding back into form. Maybe she's becoming better, going a little longer. That's number 8, Trial. This is a Tom Drury mare that is only 2 for 13, but she had a promising start to her career at Turfway Park. I thought was a very nice, one turn off the pace type. But last time out, I thought she ran huge, and that was a better race than this. To my charmer, Caitlin Her Greatness is the Canadian horse that wins every race she's in, or is a kind of a monster. And you can look at it here. She went off at 63-1 Trial, and she wasn't in terrible form. She was caught 3 wide in the first turn and battled hard to the wire to get that second place effort and reward her exacta backers who keyed her underneath. But I think Trial, second off the bench here, is going to get a good setup and run this field down.
Second route off the layoff again. She faced Caitlin Her Greatness and ran a pretty good second.
Nana Bush tackled by She's Looking Lucky in trial. Caitlin, her greatness, is begging for somewhere to go. Vina Arana won from the outside. Next up from the outside, here comes Caitlin, her greatness. Now she has room, and she's after trial, and She's Looking Lucky. Literate is taking off along the inside. Caitlin, her greatness. Trial's running a huge one. Caitlin, her greatness, calling upon all her class, and she wins the My Charmer. Trial ran her heart out.
One to watch in here with Trial, I think, is the For Love song. This is a Godolphin Blue Blood by Go Sapper out of the Grade 1 winner Music Note. Scott, sometimes these horses show up at Turfway or any synthetic surface, get one lap over it, and just absolutely raise their game. Some love it, many hate it. But she's one who certainly ran a career best last time in Allowance Company. Really, from a number standpoint, was a huge improve. She might be one who just really likes it here at Turfway. But again, that was a 1.25 mile race last time, and sometimes that can kind of throw off the figures.
Yeah, I think she's a one that wants, look at her race 3 back at Kentucky Downs, 1 mile and 5/16, probably her second best effort, right? So, I don't know. Maybe I didn't realize that Godolphin was fans of The Cure, naming a horse after a song by The Cure. But yeah, I'm not overly against her because of that. But those, between the 1.25 miles and just the fact that the distance, I think this is going to be a tougher spot for her. She's going to be way out of it in a mile race based on her past performances.
All right, Sheikh Mohammed, listen to The Cure. Apparently, I'm buy into that. Let's go to New Orleans where the music's always playing. The Gary Palmisano Senior Memorial, race number 9 on the card for the Louisiana breds, and a familiar cast in here. These horses have been battling each other in the state bred sprint ranks for some time. Several of them coming back out of the Louisiana Sprint last time out on Louisiana Champions Day. It was all about Go Sugar, the 2-1 favorite on the front end that day. Let's go back and take a look at that race, and Scott, we'll see if we're going to get a replay or somebody new to look at.
Them with Mitchell Morrow. It's Go Sugar coming toward the quarter pole. Not on Herbis right there close with El Dinero. Strong Promise on the outside. Hey Jude just picked up. FTW Slam is last. Heads are turned for home past the quarter pole. It's Go Sugar. Half clocked in 44.86. Go Sugar setting the 8th pole of height. It's Go Sugar who leads by 2. Charging toward the inside is El Dinero who's coming with this late charge. Go Sugar sticking to his guns for Mitch. Right there on the outside is El Dinero. Then comes Strong Promise in 3rd. It's Go Sugar. Go Sugar in the sprint, and Go Sugar holds El Dinero. Strong Promise 3rd, and Hey Jude finished.
Same trip, 6 furlongs here at the fairgrounds for the Palmisano Senior. Do we look at the Go Sugar right back, or we take another swing somewhere else?
Well, before I dive in, I wanted to give a tip of the cap to who the man that this race was named for, Gary Palmisano Sr., a father of Gary Palmisano Jr., a man that was helpful early at points of my career and was friends with in Kentucky. His father was a very good horseman. I believe he was a paddock judge after that. So wanted to give a tip of the cap shout out there where respect is deserved. And good field here. I think this is the 3rd edition. I'm pretty sure I think 3rd is right. Could be 4th, but it's a good race. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't play out like you mentioned. With Go Sugar kind of having things his way on the front end. He's always up on the front end, but last race it looked like there was going to be other speed. It didn't play out that way. But that was a 6-horse field. I think, when it looks like there potentially is other speed, I think it's more likely to be there in a 10-horse field like this. I'm hopeful that he has things a little more difficult on the front end, and I think it's going to be a lively pace. I'm going to go with a cutback angle here, an old turf to dirt, 3rd off the layoff cutback angle, a little playbook kind of horse here. With number 8, He's Late Again. This is a horse that's 5 for 10 in his career, 3rd off the layoff, and he goes from turf to dirt, and he gets Brian Hernandez Jr., which I think is pretty noteworthy in this spot. This horse has shown very good ability on the dirt, and I'm hopeful he gets a good setup here. Brian will probably try to angle him over early, unless I haven't been following Fairgrounds. I assume the rail's fine. You would expect if the rail is, Brian would know that. He would head to the rail, save ground, and try to make a run at Go Sugar and the other speeds in the lane.
12-1 in the morning line. He's late again on time for Scott, hopefully, in the Palmisano Memorial. That's race number 9 at the fairgrounds. on Saturday. Those are 7 races for you on Saturday, but we go 8 deep in this podcast. So we had to stretch into the Sunday stakes ranks this week with the light stakes schedule around the country. We'll go to Santa Anita on Sunday for the Las Ciénegas Stakes. It'll be race number 8 on the card. Down the hill, 6.5 furlong turf sprint in this one, Scott, for the fillies and mares. And I like to find outside post positions sometimes in these downhill turf sprints, but the queen of the turf sprints for the fillies and mares is on the rail, and Queen Maxima is going to be a handful in this one.
Absolute handful. I know that she's lost 2 of her last 3 races, but 2 back in the Green Flash was 5 furlongs different. And against the boys, a grade 3 race, Reef Runner, a really legitimate horse came from out of it to win that race. She didn't disgrace herself in that spot. And prior to that, it was going in the 2 turns in the Osanitas, which was a kind of an odd spot at the time, I thought. But as it turns out, she still has it. She won the Senator Ken Matty, I believe the name of that race is, a $200,000 event on Halloween. She's been freshened up here. She's been training well. She loves it here. And, you know, what I like to see is that I agree it's tough to take a short price. She's even money on the morning line, so you can expect her to be a very short price. It's not as if I'm going to rush to the window to bet on her to win. But I did see that she was able to win from the inside over this course before a couple of times. In fact, I think that bodes well for her. She's a classy filly or classy mare at this point. Juan Hernander knows her well. I think it's, you know, unlikely that she struggles from the inside, but you never know. It is a factor here, but other than that, she just looks like a total standout.
5 starts on the Santa Anita lawn, 4 wins, a second in the Unzip Me Stakes, and the only defeat. And last time out, as you mentioned, on Breeders' Cup weekend at Del Mar on the undercard, she looked like she hasn't lost a step. Here she is, Queen Maxima.
Top of the stretch, Jungle Peace inside, Marion Cross to the outside, Shoot It True comes 3 deep, and Queen Maxima's let loose on the far outside, and here she comes with strong strides in the center of the course, and Queen Maxima grabs the front to 16th out. Queen Maxima and Juan Hernandez win it. Shoot It True second, then Navy Bell and Great Venezuela.
We'll see Great Venezuela this weekend running down at Gulfstream Park. So popular race, that's Ken Matty for this week's returnees on the schedule. There's not a ton of early speed in this race. Queen Maxima likes to sit a little bit and punch and finish. If you're playing an exacta in this race, if you can find a horse near the front, you might stick. I don't think there's a ton of speed in here, and it'd be one of those hard races that you lead all the way and get nailed by a classy mare like that in the final 50 yards or so. But if you can make the lead in this particular spot, I think you can find the horse who might be part of the exacta. Maybe Spicy Bug, one to give a look at in there. Princessa Mocha, maybe a horse who could potentially make the lead. But from a gambling standpoint in this race, I try to find some speed and then have Queen Maxima on top in playing an exacta.
No, that makes perfect sense to me. Or obviously you'll have the late horizontal wagers to take a look at. Haven't looked at that card other than this race quite yet. I'll get to that this weekend, but I'm presuming it's involved in the all turf pick 3 at Santa Anita, if not some other ones, including maybe not the Sunset 6, but could be maybe won't be included in the coast to coast. That is out, but I don't have it in front of me. I would think maybe not. They wouldn't want the short price, but we'll see what happens on that.
Yeah, don't forget, Coast to Coast Pick 5, Sunset Pick 6 offered each racing day when Santa Anita and Gulfstream have racing cards together. So looking forward to those races coming up Friday, today, Saturday, and Sunday. All 3 days we'll have Coast to Coast Pick 5 and Sunset Pick 6.
Yeah, I found that it actually is the Sunset 6 is 8, 9, 10, so it's included in that on Sunday. And it is not included in the Coast to Coast Pick 5. Santa Anita races will be 4, 6, and 7. Gulfstream will be 9 and 10. So if you like this race, you can potential single if you think Queen Maxima and Sunset 6, or you have a potential spot to try to really bust things open in the Las. Say that name for me.
Las Ciénegas.
Las Ciénegas. Yeah, Las Ciénegas.
We are set now for a big weekend, Saturday and a Sunday stakes race for you here on the podcast. Thanks for joining us this week. Scott and I will be back next week. But again, make sure you take part in those Bet 25, get $5 promotions at Gulfstream Park as the bankroll builder continues towards the Pegasus World Cup, now just 2 weeks away. Scott, I'll give you the final word on the weekend and send us out of here.
Yeah, I registered in the middle. The funniest thing is you might have saw me searching for you probably didn't realize that I was using my computer, though, while JP was talking early in the card. It was me registering for that promotion. I registered for it yet. It was a great reminder. So hopefully you did the same and you take advantage of that, of the money, of the bankroll builder. We know that Pegasus World Cup card is going to be phenomenal.
I got to talk to somebody about getting a commission on that for getting you to sign up on that promo there.
Actually, you lose money, right? It hurts. It hurts somebody.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back next week.